The first snow of 2020 fell softly on the streets of Kharkiv. Olena pulled her coat tight around her shoulders as she hurried toward the university library. Her boots crunching against the frosted pavement. She wasn't thinking about war, not yet. She was thinking about exams, about her mother's birthday, and about the boy who had been waiting for her at the same cafe for 3 weeks in a row. His name was Andriy, a soldier on leave. Tall and broad-shouldered, with eyes the color of stormy skies. He never said much at first, just sat by the window with a notebook, sketching tanks, airplanes, sometimes flowers. But every time Olena entered, his face softened, and his sketches suddenly turned into portraits of her. That evening, their laughter filled the cafe, blending with the sound of clinking cups and the distant hum of the city. Neither of them knew that within weeks, everything around them would change. The first explosion shattered the windows of their favorite cafe. The sirens screamed across the city, drowning out the sound of Olena's heartbeat. Andriy was no longer the quiet soldier. At the window, he was back in uniform, carrying his rifle, kissing her forehead as if it might be the last time. "Promise me," he said, gripping her trembling hands. "Promise me you'll keep writing, even if I'm not here to read it." Tears blurred her vision, but she nodded. In that moment, love became more than stolen smiles and coffee cups. It became survival. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. The city was scarred but still standing. Olena's notebook filled with letters she could never send. She wrote to him about the snow melting, about the lilacs blooming too early, about how she still ordered his favorite tea just to smell it on the table. Andriy's replies came rarely, carried by tired soldiers passing through. His handwriting was hurried, smudged with dirt, but each word was a lifeline. "I dream of your voice more than sleep. I fight for tomorrow. For us." Spring arrived, but it felt muted, as if even the trees were afraid to bloom. Kharkiv bore wounds on every corner, shattered glass, burned walls, streets carved with craters. And yet, life continued stubbornly. Women carried bread in baskets, children drew chalk suns on the pavement, and Olena waited every evening near the old post office where news sometimes arrived. One April evening, she found a folded paper slipped into her mailbox. No stamp, no envelope, only hurried handwriting she recognized immediately. "Lino, I am alive. My unit is moving south. We are tired, but we still laugh, still sing. I carry your letters in my vest pocket. When shells fall, I touch the paper and remember why I stand." Her knees weakened as she pressed the note to her chest. For the first time in months, she allowed herself to smile through tears. In May, Olena made a decision that frightened even herself. She boarded a night train heading west, carrying only a backpack, her notebook, and the stubborn hope of finding Andriy. The train was crowded, families huddled together, soldiers staring silently into the dark windows, grandmothers clutching bags of bread. She shared her seat with a young mother and her child. The boy asked where she was going. "To find someone," she whispered. The boy smiled with the simplicity only children have. "Then you'll find him. My dad says love is stronger than tanks." Olena closed her eyes, holding onto that thought as the train rattled deeper into the uncertain night. They met again near Mykolaiv, in a ruined building that soldiers had turned into a field hospital. Andriy's uniform was torn, his arm wrapped in bandages, but his eyes stormy as ever lit up when he saw her. "You're mad," he said, pulling her into his embrace. "Traveling here, through this hell. And you're mad for making me fall in love with a soldier," she whispered against his chest. In that broken place, surrounded by pain and loss, they carved out a moment just for themselves. A kiss that tasted of salt and ash, but also of survival. Weeks later, Andriy returned to the front. Olena stayed behind, working as a volunteer, writing letters for soldiers too weak to hold a pen, reading poems in the dim candlelight of basements. Every time she finished a letter, she added her own line at the bottom: "Hope survives here." And somewhere on the front line, Andriy touched his pocket, feeling the worn paper of her first promise. He smiled beneath the roar of artillery, whispering into the night, "For you, Leno, for us." Summer pressed hard on the city. The days were long, the nights restless, punctured by sirens and distant thunder of shelling. Olena worked in a small warehouse that had become a hub for aid. She sorted boxes of medicine and food, her hands moving mechanically, but her thoughts always with Andriy. One night, a missile struck close. The blast shattered glass and threw her to the ground. Amid the ringing in her ears, she thought of him, of the way his arms felt around her, of the promises they had whispered. She pushed herself up, bleeding but alive, and laughed through tears. "Not today," she whispered to the smoke-filled air. "I still have letters to write." In late July, a soldier arrived at the warehouse with a package. Inside was a folded Ukrainian flag, dusty and worn, with a single letter tucked beneath it. Olena's hands trembled as she opened it. "Leno, I don't know when this will reach you. The days are heavy, but I carry your hope with me. Last night, the stars were so bright that even war couldn't dim them. I wished on them like a boy, foolish maybe. I wish to see you again. Keep believing in us." That night, Olena sat by candlelight, her pen scratching against paper. She wrote not just to Andriy, but to the future, to the day they would walk through Kharkiv's streets rebuilt, their laughter louder than the echoes of war. September came with colder winds. News traveled slower, and each day stretched like a lifetime. Olena clung to her routine, volunteering, writing, searching the sky for stars that might have heard his wish. Andriy's unit moved deeper into the fight, his letters rarer than ever. Yet each one that reached her carried the same truth, scratched on torn scraps of paper: "I am still here, still fighting for tomorrow. For us." Olena kept every letter in a wooden box, sealed with ribbon, a treasure chest of promises. Some nights, when fear was heavy, she pressed the box to her chest and whispered back into the dark, "For us, always."